Hi everybody, thank you very much for coming to the last session of the day today. My name is Pablo Molina and I'm here to talk about an organization where I've been serving for the last year, the Association of American Law Schools. And I'm trying to give you a little bit of information about the association, which may be redundant to some of you who have been collaborating with the association for a long time. But to be honest, I was a Chief Information Officer in Legal Education for many years, and I was frankly confused. I never knew what was the difference between the ABA, Legal Education Admissions to the Bar Section, the AALS, the LSAC, all the people. I was frankly confused. So I hope to dispel some of those myths. Now, if I look familiar to you, is for a number of reasons. One of them is because I have served as a technology director, chief information officer in legal education for many, many years in different schools, and also I consulted for even many more. Also because I think that my first CALI conference was in 1995. So I had hair, not much, but I still had a little bit of hair there. Now, I'm truly familiar to you is because as one of my students identified recently on Facebook, my picture is out there on Facebook. So if you see this guy looks very familiar, you can see how both people and I have a resemblance there. So, but one of us knows how to sing it. All right. So please feel free to stop me at any time if there are any questions about what I am covering here. And to be honest, the session I hope is going to be interactive. If not throughout the session, certainly at the end, you will be asked and interrogated in a true Socratic method fashion. So I've served some of the higher education and technology organizations, EDUCAUSE, the ABA, CALI a number of years ago. I served on a number of boards and committees, including the ones for EDUCAUSE, the American Bar Association, and even the LSAC Party Committee. Anybody remembers the LSAC Party Committee? 2009 and 2010, when the money was flowing, LSAC got together the admissions people and the technology people in nice venues like New Orleans and Las Vegas in order for us to collaborate better. And I was even invited to join the CALI board in 1999, although I ended up not joining the board out of conflict at work. So what is it I'm going to be talking about today? Well, first, describe what the association is. Second thing is to tell people what we do for our members. And who are our members? Well, you see, but most of you are members. Your deans participate in our programs. Your faculty members attend our conferences and interact with each other through our social networks. The question also is going to be, well, what more can we do in order to contribute to legal education? This is the part where I hope to pick your brains and get your feedback and some ideas on how we can be even more relevant and contribute more. And then finally, I'm going to tell you what you can do. So you're going to leave here with some homework, hopefully. So what are we? We're a non-profit like some others, 179 law schools. I'm not sure how accurate this number is because some schools are splitting, some schools are merging, and because of this, I'm not sure what the real count is. But it's very close to 179. And most of the schools, most of the law school students in the United States, you know, the professors who teach them, as well as the people who produce those lawyers and judges. Our mission is to uphold and advance excellence in legal education. So how do we do this? The main reason for doing this, the main way of doing this, is by focusing on teaching and scholarship, academic freedom, diversity, and many other things that are very important. But particularly from the point of view of the law schools. No, really. So what is the AALS? Well, we were founded in 1900. And the way I see it, it's a small organization and it feels like a startup. So I think we qualify as the oldest startup organization in the history of the United States. So we do mobile apps, we do websites, we do big data and things like that. It's trying to revamp the organization. You know, we have more than 90 volunteer-led sections that present programs, do their meetings at the annual conference, elect their officers, issue their awards, you know, run their paper competitions. Things that are very important to them. The main thing is that this is the professional development for many law school faculty. The same way that we technologists and librarians go to the AALS meeting, we go to the CALI conference, we come here to learn more about the profession, law faculty members go to these sessions. They normally go 1 in 3 faculty members usually goes to our annual meeting. This year was in Washington, D.C. Next year it's going to be in New York City. But also many others go to other conferences. So some of you have gone to the Clinical Teachers Conference recently. Some of you are going to the mid-year meeting next year. And we also have other things like the Faculty Recruitment Conference, where new faculty members try to obtain their jobs and recruiters interview them in Washington, D.C. every year. So do we do all of this by ourselves? Well, we don't. And so that you know, there's so many associations in Washington, D.C. There's even an association of associations. And they teach you how to run an association well. What technologies to use, what membership, how to run a board. So we're a member of many of them, but also we participate with many in the legal education community. The Law School Admission Council, the Access Group, the National Law Placement, the National Conference of Bar Examiners. I didn't list it there, but we also collaborate with CALI. Thank you very much, CALI. Thank you, John Mayer. So how do we try to be relevant and offer services to our faculty members other than the tools that we make available to them, the social networking, the annual conference, and everything else? Well, one thing we've done ever since I joined the AALS about a year ago is we have really revamped our online footprint. If you visited our law school, our homepage less than a year ago, you could see that our homepage had been designed to test whether or not the internet would work. And this was tested before 1990, which is text, not a picture. I mean, really, really obsolete. So like everybody else, we went forward, hired a fancy company to help us with the message and the design, and we completely redid the website. But most importantly, we did a website, which like everybody else, we're struggling to get enough traffic to. We'd like to see more visitors. We really revamped all of our social media pages. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, for example. So this is our YouTube channel. And for example, the interesting thing about this particular YouTube channel is not only that we have videos from our meetings, but most important, we have all the videos that your schools have contributed. You can see here from Brigham Young University, University of Houston, Hofstra Law, and everything else. So please keep the videos coming, because one of the reasons why this channel is becoming a popular channel is because people go here when they're interested in issues that have to do with legal education, law education programs, and everything else. Right? That's not what I wanted to show. We also have a Facebook page. Once again, the main goal of the page is for us to highlight some of our programs, but most importantly, what's happening with legal education in the United States. We're trying to make the public more aware about how legal education contributes to society, how our graduates from the law schools are doing public service, defending people and providing legal services to people who need them, how they contribute to the economy and the growth of the United States. We also have a LinkedIn page, and we also have a Twitter page. So once again, the real content for this comes from your schools. More often than not, this is provided by your public relations and your communications personnel, sometimes provided directly by the dean's offices, sometimes by the members themselves, the faculty members who volunteer information about the programs that they have. The heart is also the website, good repository of information. And within the website, you'll find all the information that you expect in other places. How do you register for a conference? You can search things. You get nice descriptions about where we are in Washington, D.C. By the way, we are in a building that looks like the Harry Potter castle north of Dupont Circle. If you're ever in Washington, D.C., please stop by. Your members would love to show you around. Would love to have a cup of coffee with you and maybe brainstorm a little bit about what's going on with your schools. The main thing on the website and also in the social networking platforms, 3 things we're trying to highlight. Number 1, innovative programs. One of the ways in which legal education is responding to some of the negative press and also the unfriendly market conditions is by creating innovative programs. All of your schools are doing this. More practical programs, entrepreneurship, freedom of information access clinics, lots of different programs. Our job is to take your programs and showcase them to the world. Please, if you have anything that is innovative or interesting, let us know. We'll be happy to give you some publicity. That's something that's picked up by the national media that will, in the end, maybe result in more students or faculty being interested in collaborating with you or joining your organization. We also do faculty highlights. We have wonderful faculty in all the schools. So what we try to do right there is simply trying to help them, showcase their work and become more visible. And we also have current issues, because this is one of the things that we do. Being in Washington, D.C. and working with some of the associations, we try to help legal education when it matters in front of Congress. Everything from the loan repayment programs to the new accreditation requirements that places like New York and California are considering. Things that benefit all of the members of the schools. Now, of course, we also have legal education events. We have our own, and we love for our members to be engaged and participate in the conferences. But we also have the ones that are happening in different schools. So once again, you let us know what's happening in your school, we'll put it on there. So that faculty members from other schools, instead of going through every single law school, where there may be a program on website, they can come here and find out, all right, what's a good calendar? I'm interested in law and economics, law and philosophy, what's happening in some of the law schools all over the country. So what else can we do to contribute to legal education? Well, we look at technology as a good way to be relevant to our members, provide useful information, be more efficient, and also make it easier for members to interact with the organization. So we're trying to offer additional online resources for faculty, not only the ones that I mentioned, but also we're working with a partner company, and the idea is to take some of the contents from our conference, for example, the New Law Teachers Conference and the Annual Conference, and offer this to adjunct faculty members or to new faculty members who don't come to our conference and may be interested in learning how to teach it better. So we take the advice and the sessions from your faculty in the different schools as they come and present. We repackage everything. We add some articles from the Journal of Legal Education and some other resources like the Teaching Materials Network and some others, and we make that into a package that new and adjunct faculty can benefit from in order to once again increase the quality of legal education. And we're also trying to offer data and reports. What are our data and reports? Well, there's great curiosity. Is there enough diversity among lawyers? Well, some people say yes, some people say no. Is there enough diversity among law faculty? Well, we have the numbers. We have the numbers from some of the publications that we have done and some of the data gathering. You know, how many are women, how many are men, or some other gender. You know, how many are tenure versus tenure track. Those are good numbers. What are the demographics? Do we have more young faculty members, or are they aging? And what's happening with the overall number of faculty members? These are relevant information that deans would like to have, and also some faculty members in individual schools like Northwestern and others have been publishing reports and research pieces based on our numbers. So we like to continue to offer that. But in addition to that, we want to offer big data. It's clear that this is big data because it's in big letters. That's my definition of big data. And we want to offer this. We want to find out what would be useful for you to know so that we can start collecting that information and providing that information. Now, we're always going to be mindful of the privacy of our members. We're going to anonymize the information. We're going to offer consolidated information. But in the end, if this is going to be useful to improve legal education, because it's going to give us a good feedback on what we're doing, if it's going to be good for society to understand what legal education is about, this is a service that I would like to do. So this is a summary and infographic of some of our key technology initiatives for this year. Now, I prepared this infographic with the help of one of my team members because it reminds me of USA Today, which is the only paper that I could read when I could not read in English. You can just look at the charts and the graphics and you understand what the infographic is about. But basically, I'm just describing some of the key initiatives here. You know, like everybody else, usual things, we're going to the cloud, and we're improving privacy and security, and we rolled out a mobile app for the annual meeting, and we were surprised with adoption. An adoption rate the first year of 27% among law faculty is very impressive adoption. And this is a good way not only to facilitate their attendance to the meeting, but hopefully to stop killing as many trees as we're printing every brochure, every paper, every document. Now, there are other interesting things we're doing, like the Directory of Law Teachers, and the Journal of Legal Education. The Directory of Law Teachers, how many of you are faculty members? How many of you have gone online to update your biography within the Directory of Law Teachers? Yeah, public shame. Thank you very much. You're 1 in 10% of the faculty. The idea is this: we publish these big books. By the way, we were not able to publish books for everybody for the last 2 years because there was another technology platform that didn't work well. We did not have good information. This year we redid the process, we redid the technology completely. We made it look like much more like a modern web interface, much easier to do. And then we send messages to the faculty saying, we're ready to publish a book. Everybody's going to get a copy. Please go online and update your information. And guess what? Only 1 in 10 did it. So, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your ideas on how we can get faculty members to go back and enter this information. This is good not only for them to look good as bios in the directory, but also very important for us to be able to offer meaningful statistics and report about the community. Now, interesting enough, yes?
Don't try and convince faculty members. Try and convince the deans that it's good for them if the faculty members do.
And this is a very good advice because in addition to the faculty members updating their own bios, we reach out to the dean's offices. And we tell them, could you please review the people in your school? Let us know whether the list is correct, whether the job titles are correct, tenure versus tenure track. Could you tell us whether or not these people are truly with you or are visiting somewhere else, or new people have joined or some people have departed? Even though only 16% of the dean's offices took the time to confirm the numbers.
I guess the question is, why is it good for the dean's office to do?
And I would say it's a good question. Why is it good for them?
These are busy people. I'm in there. I know. These are busy people. Why should we take our time to do this? What do we gain?
I would say that we need to articulate that there are 2 things you're going to gain. One of them is an accurate representation of the wealth of talent in your law school. And as you know, in some of the rankings, the opinions of your colleagues are important, and these opinions are formed in many ways. One of them could be people just going through the directory, as some people do, and taking a look at what faculty is serving where and what they're doing. The other one is certainly the ability to provide meaningful statistics. So everybody benefits from this collective effort. So thank you. Now, I tried a little trick, which was to offer Amazon gift cards to the directory coordinators to thank them. That did not work very well. I'm not afraid of this year. It was token amount, but I always thought that people feel guilty. If they give you $10, $20 in gift certificate, somehow you feel like you owe those people something. But I guess with the competing needs of legal education, this was not enough.
The answer is to rank the faculty based on their updates in their materials. As soon as they see that they're not in any top 10s, they'll update their lists. I am not kidding.
You know, there may be something to it done delicately, diplomatically, and you know, maybe with the protection from the United Nations or something like that. Now, I think it's a very good idea. Our only hope is that as we haven't sent this book to law professors for the last 2 years, they're going to be getting this book next month. And people are going to be looking at the books, and those who did not update realize that, listen, I've been teaching this subject for longer than this. I've got 3 awards, 2 articles, 1 book. I'm going to modify the information. That's our hope a little bit. So.
Yeah, while we're on this subject, can I ask you a question? You're collecting all this data online. You've got this online database. Why are you sending it to us as a book instead of making it available to us online?
Yeah, don't think I wasn't ready for that question. No. Listen, those of you who know me, I'm a complete geek, and I think that the association is clearly moving in this direction. But we're a little bit hesitant to move in this direction until we have a little bit better data. It's just not a good idea to post biographies that are obsolete right now. So I know it's going to happen, and not only that, but I encourage everybody in the room to tell us what would be the most useful way for this to happen. So, for example, would it make sense for people to opt out of an online directory because people could poach those addresses, or people write a hate mail to certain faculty members would find it easier to identify the contact information? Would it make sense to find faculty members by subject, So you can find all the people who are teaching contracts of a certain seniority, teaching contracts, so you can identify them for programs, for conferences, for things like that. So thank you. In addition to the directory of all teachers, which I hope you can go back to your schools and convince faculty members to fill out and provide us with ideas to get better participation. I also must say that we have the new home page for the Journal of Legal Education. And what happened, you may know or not this, but the Journal of Legal Education has been published since 1949. And this is basically how faculty members and others publish articles about the business of legal education, be it research, be it experiential learning, be it many others. We have a new advisory board chaired by Robin West from Georgetown University Law Center, and we have a new repository, because what happens is that normally there are two schools co-sharing the editorial duties or producing the journal. There are 4 issues. One school does 2 issues per year, the other school does the other 2. So it was recently moved to University of Washington and Northeastern Law School. And what happened every time the schools changed, then the website for the journal changed. Well, we decided to give it a permanent home. At the permanent home, we decided to use BE Press as one of the solutions. And I want to thank the librarians on the Technology Advisory Board of the AALS for suggesting BE Press and helping us with that. What is the advantage of BE Press? Well, first, a permanent home. So you don't have to go from one website to another every time the journal changes editorial hands. The second one is much easier to find across the BE Commons spectrum. So if there are other journals in BE Commons like the Yale Law Journal and many other journals, you also find the Journal of Legal Education, which gives that more visibility. And finally, our goal, we only have the issues for the last 5 years, but our goal is to go back and upload the issues from 1949 so that anybody can find those particular articles. So give it a try. So what can you do in order to participate and contribute here? Well, the first one, show up for our annual meeting or any of the other meetings. Speak, exhibit, or present, or be present at any of those meetings. They're open to any of the members here, and this is a wonderful way. If you're a faculty member, to connect with your colleagues. If you're a senior administrator, to understand what faculty are learning about, as well as some major speeches about the state of legal education, and get to know some interesting vendors there. I encourage you to write for either the Journal of Legal Education or any of our publications. If you have an innovative practice, you may co-author something with some of your colleagues in your school or other schools and try to submit a good piece. This is always good for your career and a good way to contribute to the legal education community. Now, very important, share suggestions and information from your schools. Spread the word that we're searching for faculty highlights, innovative programs, and current issues in legal education. If anybody in your faculty writes a good piece about legal education, about anything that has to do with this, please let us know. We'll be happy to circulate that in our media releases and give it more visibility and notoriety. Now, for all of you, I recommend, as members, that you volunteer for our sections and our committees. You can even volunteer for my own self-assembled Technology Advisory Board. These are the people who served last year. Bruce Backman, who's the CIO from the Law School Admissions Council. Ryan Callow, professor at the University of Washington. Ben Chapman, assistant dean at Emory University. James Grimmelman, faculty members at University of Maryland. Ken Hirsch, librarian and faculty members at Cincinnati. John Holland, who's not only a librarian and a faculty member at Minnesota, but is also the chair of the section of legal education and admissions to the bar of the ABA. And Jason Watson, who is the chief technology officer of Stanford Law. When assembling this advisory board, well, I was looking for people who, in exchange for fame, recognition, and gratitude, would be willing to give us some advice, would be willing to test our director of law teachers, our Journal of Legal Education, our website, our social networking pages before releasing them to the public, and being able to give us some feedback. What kind of people I'm looking for? Very simple. I'm looking for people who are diverse. And when I mean diverse in age, gender, race. Diverse meaning they come from big national schools as well as regional schools. Diverse meaning that they come from north, south, east, west, and the Midwest in the United States. We are an association of law schools. We don't want to be heavily influenced by any particular group of associations. In order to do this, I need that diversity. I also need a diversity of roles. I need people who are not in law schools, like Bruce Backman from the LSAC. I need faculty members, librarians, technologists. And finally, very important, if you have in your own technology, please let our email messages through, please, please, please. The messages to the faculties and upgrade your bio. Update your bio. The messages to the directory coordinators in the team's office. Please let us know who are the players in the team. The messages to the teams themselves as VIPs, telling them, listen, this is what the association's director is trying to share with you about current issues in legal education. All of those messages, sometimes I track by spam filters. Why? Because it's true. If all of your faculty members are getting an email at once, sometimes the spam filter will think that this is indeed spam. So if there's a possibility that you can work either with your technology team in the law school or your university team, please let them know to blacklist the messages from AALS.org. And with that, I'd like to open the floor for more brainstorming and suggestions. What can we do? What kind of reports would you like to see? What would help you understand the state of legal education better?
AALS used to do a list of all classes being taught. It was essentially, what is it? A list of all classes being taught, titles, number of credit hours, essentially a database, so that you can do sort of like comparative things. How many schools do contracts as a 3-credit course versus how many do them as a 4-credit course and stuff like that. I helped code the system back in the 80s at one point, and it kind of got dropped. But I've been in a zillion situations where having that information at the fingertips would be incredibly valuable. So every time you ask the faculty to update their information, we should do that once a semester. What are you teaching this semester?
I think it's a good idea. To be honest, as I mentioned, I've only been with the association for 1 year, so I'm not aware of this database. But it's interesting because today I had a conversation with the Teaching Materials Network, which you may know is run out of Stems on law. And in this material network, which anybody can sign up for, people, faculty members, list themselves and say, listen, I teach contracts, and by the way, I would be willing to help somebody who's never taught contracts before, perhaps to give them some of my teaching materials based on the number of credit hours that I teach, and also based on this book that I use as a case book for the class. So I was having a conversation with the people who ran it because they were indicating that this would be a great resource for the AALS to take over and make it even more available and more prominent to all the faculty members. They claim that the value is critical because you may have been teaching contracts for many years, and suddenly the dean comes to you and say, could you please teach a privacy class because the faculty member is sick, or we have more demand in this particular field. Instead of starting from scratch, you get to work stand on the shoulders of other faculty members who are willing to volunteer the materials. What else would be useful? Any reports? Anything you'd like to know about?
I'll just say this. It's been my experience at AALS that it's very focused on supporting faculty and not very focused on supporting administrations and the law schools that are trying to operate. I'd like to see them doing more to reach out and find out where their various things that they've been doing for many, many years are helpful and whether or not. For example, by rule, faculty have until in March to say if they're going to be visiting out another school. I've got a bunch of students who are always upset because they don't know what their schedule is going to be until March happens for the next year. Who's representing the students in the schools in that conversation?
Yeah, I don't think there's much representation other than the one provided by the deans and the faculty members themselves, which is suspect when it comes to representing the students. So.
Yeah.
When it comes to representing the senior administrators, it's very interesting. The new Director of Law Teachers collects information about who are the heads of career services, admissions, and development in the different law schools. Because as a director, it's a good way for people to get together, reach out to their colleagues and peers at other institutions. Also, we have a brand new section. Our section number 100 is a section for associate deans. Interesting to know, we didn't have one. We have sections for deans, we have sections for criminal law and contracts and many other things. This is the first time the associate deans are going to get together in a section, be able to plan their own session and meeting at the conference, be able to share resources, and have their online networking platform to discuss issues appropriate to them. So I think it would be worthwhile to consider what we do about the others. It's interesting, I've seen other associations in other fields that in order to grow their numbers have admitted some of the graduate students who are on a PhD track who eventually may become professors.
And you see that a lot even in the ABA, in their section of legal education, they have a strong student section portion of that.
Yeah, and then now there's a sign there that says, if you are a student, will you enjoy it for free? So yes, indeed. So.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you want every student joining, but having some representation, maybe just having one member of every law school be the student representative to AALS, just like we have a student who's a student representative to the ABA.
Sounds like a good idea. I'm going to take back to the executive committee of the association. The way it works, we have an executive director, Judy Arino, who has been for many years at Georgetown Law. We also have an executive committee with wide representation from all the member schools. So, thank you.
Are y'all going to take over the ABA's associate dean thing, which we had at Boulder a year ago, but it was like planned at the last minute. In fact, the ABA, Barry Courier, kind of indicated like, we're not really sure we're going to be doing this anymore. You were there, John, right? Were you there at the ABA associate dean meeting? No, okay, well, whatever. That's what I recall. And I remember speaking to somebody about it just a couple of months ago, asking about this. So y'all taking that over? Are y'all going to start doing the ADs for the ABA?
Well, we're gonna do the following. I'm not sure if this competes with the ABA, but basically what we're doing is a number of associate deans got together and filed a petition with the AALS saying we'd like to have a section here. And these are the people who signed for the section, and they came up with some suggestions of officers for the sections, a program for the annual meeting. It's a very well-structured environment that is widely representative. So the idea is for the associate deans to have their presence at the annual meeting in New York this year. They will be able to plan some of their own sessions. Now, interestingly enough, going back to your comment, we had some programs for development officers, and they're going to have a big track right there at the annual conference. And something very interesting that has happened for many years in many of the technology conferences that I've attended, and even the education conference, there's always some sort of, some people call it VIP tracks, or some tracks for specialized officers in these organizations. We're putting more effort into engaging more with the deans of the law schools because they have very unique needs that are, on the one hand, they're still faculty members. On the other hand, they have other issues about governance that are unique to them. So the answer is hopefully yes, but I'm not sure we're taking over the ABA or doing something else.
The ABA dropped it, so it'd be good if y'all did do that.
Then this is what we're doing.
We need a forum, so that would be good for y'all. Plus, we attend your conference anyway every year. So the ABA
Thank
also...
you for that.
Huh?
Thank you for
that. Of course, 20 years. So the ABA also dropped their technology committee. They haven't had a technology committee in at least, what, 5 years, John?
We still got LTRC, but is that what you're talking about?
They used to the technology committee that advised the ABA, and so we work for our world in distance ed, but they're not there anymore.
Nothing in distance ed, no, that I know of.
There used to be a technology committee. I don't think it, did they reappoint it?
There's technology all over the place, but I don't know whether there's just
Not a committee. Yeah, so the ABA did away with their technology committee they used to have, like, yeah, about 5 years ago. It was actually run by somebody at Stetson. I remember, whatever. Maybe y'all could.
Ellen?
Yes.
Yeah, Ellen Podmore?
Yeah. Yes, Ellen did it. So maybe y'all could do, take your committee that you already have and broaden its scope to do what the technology committee at the ABA used to do, which is kind of like look at some of the issues at a Cali or, you know, from a governance point of view, maybe even in collaboration with Cali.
I think it's a good idea, and to be absolutely honest, you're not the first one to propose this. When I approached Ken Hirsch to serve last year, he made the same comment and said, Pablo, it would be great if, in addition to all these things you have in mind, you could broaden the scope and survey the state of affairs of technology in legal education and perhaps do a study, perhaps offer advice. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you. If you haven't volunteered any ideas, I'm going to start asking you directly. Ask not what the AALS can do for you, but what you can do for you, or legal education.
I can tell you from the sections, we every year, so I serve in all the sections, yada yada, get all involved. The newsletter. About 4 years ago, AALS came out with a new communication system, so you weren't there, but anyway, it died. I can't even remember what it was, but I was like the first adopter, and then like nobody else ever came on. But it was going to have a newsletter feature, and that was going to be a real advantage to it. So the sections could actually have newsletters, they could kind of blog, distribute to the section. It would be easy. I don't know how many people here are involved in AALS sections that actually have a real newsletter go out, but for the day before the AALS conference, so you get your funding for next year. How many people have actually had their newsletter go out? Because I've never had it happen in a section. So the newsletter, which does impact your funding, I think it was like, it used to be you used to get an extra 300, although I think y'all just dropped that. But
I think the environmental law. I think I'm not in that section, but I think I saw one.
Maybe y'all could make it easier on your, because there's a new thing in there, a new communications platform that y'all are putting out.
We are. It's something, a new social networking platform known as HireLogic, one of those, internal social networking platforms. So.
Yeah. Maybe y'all could build in a newsletter feature into that, so that whoever has to do the newsletter can do it into that, automatically distribute to the section, which would then make people like step up and go, oh, I want to be like, I'm not in the section newspaper, because they all got it at the same time, and it was easy to use, and it was part of their AALS social network, or whatever. Just make it easier for us than going onto a Word document and trying to figure out how to typeset a page and graphics and sending it through the email and attachments. All that bothering.
I think it's a very good idea. We were thinking when replacing that social networking platform, we were thinking about replacing two components. One of them is basically like a website repository, a place like Facebook or LinkedIn when you post updates and some documents and things like that. And the other one was precisely the email discussions that faculty members have, which is still the most popular way for people within a section to communicate with each other. But I think it would be interesting to bring all the resources like the blogs or the newsletters, create some basic template that is very easy for the section chair or the officer in charge of that particular newsletter for them to copy and paste or type something. So thank you.
Well, we'd like Starbucks at the AALS meetings with espresso machines.
Well, honestly, we've gone through different rationalization steps, and the new executive director, Julie, asked everybody, I want you to question all the practices from the meetings. So, for example, I am sad and sorry and happy to say that before you could only get coffee if you were to the exhibit hall.
Right.
Now you're going to be able to get coffee right outside the sessions. So that as you finish a session and you're talking to a colleague and making comments, you can have your cup of coffee right there. So small changes like that. Or things that may seem revolutionary, but you get free Wi-Fi, which you never used to get free Wi-Fi in the hotels in New York. Now we tell the hotels, listen, you better give us Wi-Fi or we're walking across the street. Not that you can truly do it because the hotels are booked for the next 20 years. So, but at least you brag and you negotiate with them.
So as a vendor in the exhibit hall, the fact that you give coffee outside the sessions brings fewer people into the exhibit hall to my booth.
Which is what I say, I'm sad to say, and I'm happy to say it, both, John. So at least we're being transparent about it. So
we still come to the booths, and we come there for the actual booth, not just for the coffee.
Thank you for that. Michael, did you have a question? Okay.
About the timing of your conference? The timing of the conference. The one thing,
January.
In January, it's always a pain in the ass. You got Christmas, you got New Year's, you got AALS, you're not at home for even a day in between. It's tough.
For some of us, that's right, basically starts.
Yeah, the semester starts right away. Yeah, I often have faculty at AALS with a class on Monday coming back. It's a very tough time.
Well, I got to tell you, that question, and I'd be happy to take the comments back. And once again, it's not the first time we're
Sure,
this, to be absolutely honest.
Plus, there's nothing like
For-
New York in January.
Yeah, well, listen, we've chosen to do the meeting in the tropical part of New York in January.
So, there you go. Well, in that case, no problem.
No problem. No, and you may remember, I mean, we had a major problem 2 years ago in New York. In 2014, there was a snowstorm
Yes.
that prevented many people from arriving. So many of the people just could not make it to the conference. We had to scramble to find replacement speakers. You know, we have weather insurance for the conference that kicked in, which we hadn't used in 20 years. So you're absolutely right. You know, New York is fun. New York is fun around Christmas. The weather is brutally cold. For some people, it's very convenient in between semesters, as opposed to the moment school is off in mid-May, they go off. But look at Cali. You guys have been very successful at programming the conference in June. And there are other organizations like the Association of American Libraries and others that do it. It's very interesting. We're thinking with doing away with the mid-year meeting. Thinking about it. We haven't decided completely. And it's because attendance at the mid-year meeting has been lower than otherwise. So just
Yeah, I
interesting.
remember AALS one in New Orleans, it was freezing cold too. So it's not just the location, it's the time of the year.
Is the weather. Okay, for now we're going to order nice weather from Apple. And as long as we do that, I'm sure we'll be fine. So.
Well, I put in Hawaii, they're all good.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, yeah, there you go.
Puerto Rico.
We got a law school there.
Puerto Rico would be a very nice. We have member schools in America and in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And the University of Puerto Rico is really good places with beautiful facilities. So. I'm going to take those.
No, it's
suggestions
really just the timing thing. It's not the weather that I worry about. It's all so tight that it becomes a problem.
Was there a good date anywhere?
I think summer.
Summer?
I think doing the big conference in very early summer, like right at the beginning of June, or do it sometimes Cali. That would be great for that. No, or you can do it, or you can do it in August, right before the semester starts, right before school starts.
You're right. It'd be interesting. I wonder if one can pilot an idea like that. So, it'd be interesting. Or maybe do some market research.
Do it every other, do market research, do it every other year.
Well, here's something interesting that we've been considering. And I'm sorry once again, but I'm happy. It goes both ways. I have mixed feelings about this, which is that we haven't surveyed our members. And there are ones who we survey. If you go to the annual meeting, I'm sure we send you surveys about everything. The food, the sessions, the transportation, and everything else. But we haven't surveyed some of the members who do not come to the annual meeting. So we're beginning to think that maybe it makes sense to do once a year an annual survey, a few questions so that we can do longitudinal analysis and find out what trends are there for attendance, for engagement with the organization. And then of course offer those free comments questions where people can offer any idea, like give us a different venue or give us a different time. So, would you reply to that survey?
I will, sure.
You would?
Oh, yeah.
You're 1 in 10 who would reply, or you think there may be 3 in 10?
Well, let me reframe it. Depends on what day I get it. And and that's honest. It's, I have days when I get so many emails that are more important. But then there's other days when I would do it.
And it's interesting.
So send it more than once, I guess what I'm saying.
It's interesting because I didn't know much about email marketing or associations. In legal education where I worked before, the universities, we just send an email whenever we want to, as long as the email system is not going to crash, and we assume the alums are going to open their wallets. That's it, a marketing assumption. Here you have to be more careful with some of the tools we use. There are rules that tell you be careful when you send it, because there are studies that tell you people will open a message on Monday morning but not on Friday afternoon. Yes. They will open more often from a mobile device on this day of the week and this time than the other ones. More so at the beginning of the month than at the end. And we try a little bit to heed that advice when possible, although legal education goes against every conventional wisdom and marketing studies.
Make your survey short and tell us how much time it's going to take to do it in the email. The survey will take 4 minutes to do.
I think this is good advice, and make sure that as with the Paperwork Reduction Act, that we're true to our statements.
Yeah.
And that you don't need a PhD and a JD in order to fill it out in under 2 minutes.
Yeah. If there's many a survey I've started, and then probably through a little percentage thing says 40% done, and then oh my God, close it down.
Thank you. I think these are all good ideas. What can I say? I don't want to keep you here any longer than necessary. I want to thank you for the ideas. That is my email address, for a number of reasons. Any ideas, any comments after this suggestion? Anybody who you think would be a good person to volunteer for section leadership, for an article in the Journal of Legal Education, for a service on the Technology Advisory Board, please don't hesitate to contact me and I'll be happy to send your suggestions and share them with the right people at the AALS. And once again, I want to thank all of you for being here and John Mayer for the opportunity to speak here at the CALIcon conference. Thank you very much, everybody.